Imagine waking up in a city built for 1 million people, but yours are the only footsteps echoing on the pavement. You look up, and 10,000 windows stare back at you. Dark, glass eyes reflecting a sun that rises over a silent skyline. There are traffic lights that change for no cars, fountains that spray water for no spectators, and boulevards wide enough for an invading army. This isn't a post-apocalyptic movie set. It's not Chernobyl, and it's not a dream. This is the $1 trillion ghost economy. It is the greatest magic trick in human history. China turned a sea of debt into a forest of skyscrapers, and then they simply walked away. To understand how we got here, we have to look at the China miracle. For 30 years, the world watched in awe as China pulled off an industrial revolution that should have taken a century. They used more concrete between 2011 and 2013 than the United States used in the entire 20th century. In 3 years, they outpoured the nation that built the Hoover Dam and the interstate highway system. But growth is an addiction. To keep the GDP numbers screaming upward, the Chinese Communist Party found a cheat code: real estate. In the West, we view a house as a home. In China, a house is the only safe place to put your money. The Chinese middle class poured every cent of their life savings into pre-sale apartments. They weren't buying a home, they were buying a golden ticket. Our story begins in the desert of Inner Mongolia. This is Ordos. In the early 2000s, Ordos struck black gold, coal. Money flooded in faster than the local government knew how to spend it. So, they did what any ambitious official does. They built. They spent billions on an opera house that looks like a futuristic titanium blob and a library designed to look like leaning books. A decade later, it was the poster child for the ghost city phenomenon. You could stand in the square at noon and hear a pin drop. The infrastructure was there, the marble was polished, but the soul was missing. How does a country lose $1 trillion without a war? Through local government financing vehicles. Local officials sold land to developers at inflated prices, and the banks kept the faucets open. It was a circular firing squad of debt. As long as property prices went up, the music kept playing. But in 2021, the music didn't just stop. The speakers exploded. Enter Evergrande. Once the most valuable real estate company on the planet, it became the most indebted, with over $300 billion in liabilities. When Evergrande began defaulting, the ghost city narrative shifted from a curiosity to a crisis. Millions realized the apartment they'd been paying a mortgage on for 5 years might never actually be finished. They were paying for ghosts. In China, this is the Great Stagnation. Imagine being a 30-year-old man who cannot get married because you don't own a home. The silence in these cities is heavy. It's the sound of a promise broken. It's the sound of $1 trillion evaporating. There is a term that sends shivers down the spine of every homeowner. Lanwei Lu, the rotten tail buildings. These are the skeletons of 50-story towers where the cranes have rusted in place and the construction crews have vanished. But here's the kicker. People are moving into them anyway. Moving into concrete husks with no running water and no electricity. Their life savings are trapped in the rotten tail. If you think this is just a China problem, you're missing the forest for the trees. Australia sold the iron ore. Brazil sold the steel. Germany sold the machinery. When the ghost city engine seizes, the world feels the friction. We are witnessing the deflation of the largest asset bubble in history. Bigger than 1980s Japan. Bigger than the 2008 US subprime crisis. The ghost cities have created a ghost generation. Young people are adopting the Tangping philosophy. If the dream of homeownership is a lie and ghost cities are all the economy produces, why work 996? The social contract is fraying. In a desperate attempt to fix the supply issue, dozens of massive, nearly finished skyscrapers are being imploded simultaneously. Thousands of tons of wasted carbon, labor, and dreams falling into a cloud of dust in seconds. The $1 trillion mistake isn't just about money. It's a monument to the limit of human planning. You can build a city, but you cannot build a community by decree. You can pour concrete, but you cannot pour desire. The era of build it and they will come is dead. The ghost cities stand as a warning to the rest of the world. Tonight, the streetlights will turn on. They will illuminate empty parks and vacant storefronts. The $1 trillion mistake is still there. It is the most expensive silence on Earth. The wind in the city of Guian doesn't whistle, it moans. It passes through the hollow rib cages of 300 unfinished apartment towers, vibrating against exposed rebar and flapping green construction netting that has been shredded by years of neglect. This is the rotten tale, the Lanwei Lu. In the West, we have fixer-uppers. In China, they have skeletons. Imagine spending $300,000, your parents' retirement, your wedding dowry, on a dream. Then, one Tuesday, the cranes stop moving. The gates are locked. The developer has fled. You are left with a mortgage for a pile of concrete. This isn't just a financial crisis. It is a slow-motion car crash involving 1.4 billion people and a $1 trillion ghost. To understand the rotten tale, you have to understand the pre-sale model. In New York or London, you usually buy a house that exists. In China, you buy a promise. Developers like Evergrande and Country Garden operated like high-speed sharks. They took your money for building A and immediately used it to buy land for building B and building C. It was a Ponzi scheme. But in 2020, the Chinese government introduced the 3 red lines, a set of brutal financial ratios designed to stop the debt. The government tried to pop the bubble gently. Instead, they cut the oxygen to the entire industry. When the cash stopped flowing, the music stopped. Suddenly, the ghost cities weren't just empty, they were broken. Across the nation, an estimated 20 million units sat unfinished. Now let's go inside. Meet the ghost dwellers. These are families who, out of sheer desperation, have moved into unfinished buildings. They climb 20 flights of stairs because the elevators were never installed. They cook on camping stoves and hang plastic sheets where windows should be. In the city of Xi'an, hundreds of homeowners occupied a complex. They are trapped in a legal and physical purgatory. Where did the $1 trillion mistake go? It turned into LGFV debt, local government financing vehicles. This is the dark matter of the economy. The ghost cities are the collateral for loans that can never be repaid. This systemic insolvency dwarfs the 2008 Lehman Brothers collapse. The carbon footprint of China's empty cities is a planetary catastrophe. The production of cement and steel for buildings never lived in is a crime. Watch the footage. 15 30-story towers falling in a synchronized dance of dust and thunder. Erasure of human labor in 20 seconds. Why should a worker in Ohio care? Because China has been the engine of global growth. When China stops, the commodity markets bleed. The most dangerous ghost in these cities isn't a spirit, it's the disillusioned youth. They are lying flat, Tangping. The ghost cities are a mirror. They show us what happens when growth becomes a religion. They are beautiful, terrifying, and empty. The tragedy of the ghost city isn't a bang, it's a whimper. $1 trillion worth of hope, slowly turning back into dust.